Today we're getting into some real talk about boundaries, gifts, and why everything that glitters isn't gold. Let's slow this down for a second, because what we're about to talk about is deeper than bad vibes, and it's definitely deeper than internet lists. You've probably seen those videos about gifts you should never accept, and part of you wonders if it's just clickbait, or is there some actual spiritual weight to this? Real talk. The Bible is actually the original manual for discernment. It's not just negative energy or bad vibes. Scripture is very clear that some gifts are actually baits designed to trap your soul, cloud your judgment, or keep you from God's best. But if you've lived long enough, you already know this is real. You felt that moment where something looked good on the outside, but something in your spirit felt off. And instead of trusting it, you talked yourself into it. You told yourself, it's not that serious, or maybe I'm overthinking. But later, you realized you weren't overthinking. You were discerning, and you ignored it. What you didn't have language for at the time is this: not every gift is a blessing. Some are bait. And the Bible doesn't talk about this in vague terms. It speaks about it with precision. Because God is not trying to control you. He is trying to protect you. And if you don't understand what's behind what's being offered to you, you will keep accepting things that look like provision, but are actually positioning you for compromise. If you're ready to stop being a people pleaser and start being a purpose pursuer, here's the biblical breakdown of the 6 gifts you need to be wary of. Before we go into the 6, I need to establish something foundational. Not every good thing is from God, and not everything that feels like favor actually is. James 1:17 says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of lights." James is writing to believers who were being tempted to blame God for things that were actually coming from their own desires or from the world around them. And he draws a clear line. There are gifts that come from God, and they are good, whole, without hidden cost. The word perfect in the Greek is teleos, meaning complete, lacking nothing, not needing to be supplemented or paid back. Which means if something is truly from God, it will not require you to compromise your integrity, your peace, or your alignment to keep it. It will not come with hidden pressure. It will not quietly pull you away from Him. So if something is making you feel anxious, obligated, confused, or internally divided, you need to pause, because it may look like a gift, but it is not coming from the same source. The first gift you need to be careful with is the bribe. And don't rush past that word, because you probably don't call it that in your life. It doesn't show up as a suitcase of cash. It shows up as opportunity, favor, connections, or support that quietly require you to look the other way. It's the job that pays well, but asks you to compromise what you know is right. It's the person who gives you things so you won't confront what's actually off in the relationship. Exodus 23:8 says, "You shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the clear-sighted and subverts the cause of the righteous." This was given as a law to judges, people responsible for making fair decisions. And God warns them that a bribe does something specific. It blinds. The word blinds, in the original Hebrew, carries the idea of distorting perception, twisting what is clear into something unclear, which means you don't suddenly become unaware. You become unable to judge correctly. And that is exactly how it plays out in your life. You start justifying things you once would have questioned. You start lowering standards you once held firmly, and you don't even realize it's happening in real time. That's why this is dangerous, because it doesn't feel like compromise at first. It feels like advantage. But anything that makes you ignore what God is showing you is not a blessing. It is a setup. The second is what I'm going to call the stingy host gift, the gift with strings attached. You've experienced this. Someone gives you something, does something for you, supports you in some way, but you can feel it. There's an expectation attached. There's a quiet pressure that now you owe them, and what was supposed to feel like generosity starts to feel like obligation. Proverbs 23:6-7 says, "Do not eat the food of a begrudging host. Eat and drink," he says to you, but his heart is not with you. Solomon is warning about people whose actions and intentions don't match. The phrase, begrudging host, comes from a Hebrew expression that literally describes someone with an evil eye. Not in a mystical sense, but someone who gives while calculating. Someone whose generosity is not free. And Solomon says something strong. You will vomit up what you've eaten. In other words, you will regret receiving it. Because it wasn't given out of love. It was given to create control, And you need to understand this. Not everything that is given freely is given cleanly. Some things are given to gain access to you. And when you accept it, you step into a dynamic where your freedom starts shrinking. The third is the gift of flattery. And this one is dangerous because it doesn't look like a trap. It feels like affirmation. It's the person who speaks life into you, praises you, tells you everything you've been longing to hear. But something about it feels excessive, strategic. Proverbs 29:5 says, "A man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet." That word net is intentional. A net is not thrown randomly. It is placed where someone is expected to walk. Flattery is not just compliments. It is exaggerated praise designed to lower your guard. And if you've been craving validation, craving to feel chosen, craving to feel seen, you are more vulnerable to this than you think. Because flattery meets a real need, but it meets it in a way that leads to entanglement. You start trusting someone based on how they make you feel, not on who they actually are. And by the time you realize it, you're already caught. The fourth is the forbidden invitation, the lifestyle that looks like provision but leads you away from God. This is especially real in relationships. It's the man who offers experiences, access, comfort, attention, things that feel like answers to prayers you haven't even fully voiced. But his life is not aligned with God, and deep down, you know it. Proverbs 7 paints this picture in detail. It describes someone using luxury, beauty, and sensory appeal to draw someone into intimacy that is outside of God's design. It says the bed is covered, the room is perfumed, everything looks intentional, desirable, but the outcome is destruction. The point is not the objects, it's the strategy. Sin rarely presents itself as ugly. It presents itself as desirable. And if you're not rooted, you will confuse access with blessing. Just because someone can give you a lifestyle does not mean they are qualified to lead you. And if what they're offering requires you to step outside of what God has already shown you, it's not provision. It's a trap dressed like opportunity. The fifth is the gift that tries to buy influence or access to your life. This is when someone uses what they can give, money, support, connections, to insert themselves into your space in a way that bypasses discernment. Acts 8:20 shows this clearly when Simon tries to buy spiritual authority. Peter responds, "May your silver perish with you, because you thought you could obtain the gift of God with money." The issue here is not just money. It's the mindset, the belief that access, authority, or closeness can be purchased. And this happens in your life when people give in a way that tries to secure a position they haven't earned through character. And if you're not careful, you will let generosity override discernment. But access to your life is not something people should be able to buy. It is something that should be built through alignment, consistency, and truth. The sixth is the glory-stealing gift, the one that replaces God as your source. This is subtle, but it's powerful. It's when someone provides in a way that slowly shifts your dependence from God to them. Genesis 14:23 shows Abraham refusing wealth from the king of Sodom, saying he doesn't want anyone to be able to say they made him rich. Abraham understood something you need to understand too. Whoever you receive from, you can become tied to. And if you allow the wrong person to become your source, you will start making decisions to maintain that source. God is not just concerned with what you have. He is concerned with where it came from, because where it came from will influence where you go next. So bring this back to you. The reason these gifts are hard to say no to is not just because they look good. It's because they touch something deeper in you. The desire to feel chosen, to feel secure, to feel seen, to feel like you finally have what you've been waiting for. But if you are looking to external things to confirm your worth, you will keep accepting things that cost you internally. And that is why this matters. Because your worth is not proven by what someone gives you. It is established by who God already says you are. And until you are rooted in that, you will keep being vulnerable to things that look like answers, but lead you further away from Him. So if something in you has been feeling that hesitation, that check, that quiet no that you've been overriding, don't ignore it this time. Sit with it. Bring it to God. Ask Him to show you clearly what is from Him and what is not, because He is not trying to restrict your life. He is trying to protect your future. And the more you learn to discern what is truly from Him, the less you will be tempted by what only looks like it is.